Voices to Hear.
Hi, and welcome to Voices to Hear podcast. In this episode, we will discuss music scene in Japan and Macedonia with Lazar Nelkovski.
My name is Lazar Nelkovski, spelled Lazar, and to anyone who doesn't speak Macedonian, I just say pronounce it how you will. I'm born in Macedonia, and I've lived here my entire life. Last year, I was chosen to go to UWC Isaac Japan, which is an international school called the United World College, where I currently live in the city of Karuizawa in Japan. I'm 17 years old, and I dabble with the arts.
Okay, how did you choose to go to Japan? Because it's...
Well, first I initially applied. I heard about this program called UWC by a friend, and she told me that she was applying, and she actually pushed me to apply with her. The sad thing was that after the written application, I got accepted and she didn't.
Okay.
So then throughout the entirety of the process, I was just keeping in mind that I was trying to achieve the most the way that my friend would want me to do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the process, we made ranks of which college we wanted to go to. There are 18 UWCs in the world. They're all around in different countries. There's one in Mostar, Maastricht, Indonesia, Singapore, etc. There's one in the US also. Costa Rica, and I wanted to go to Japan mainly because I wanted to experience that culture, that cultural difference, and get some final points of views of life before going into college, as I've always planned to go to the college in the US. So I put Japan on my top spot, and luckily I got it. I got in, so that's where I am now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how did you find the difference between Macedonia and Japan? How was the culture there?
Well,
it's very large, but
Macedonia is a lot more communicative, I would say, than Japan. Japan has a way to create consumers in people. The balanced life in Japan, life is very balanced, I would say.
okay.
The entirety of my life, I've done things that have been sort of out of pocket. How should I say it? They have been unplanned. They have been spontaneous, and
there it's much
yes.
more planned.
And most of the things that I've done in life have been on a basis of what I've wanted to do to reach a higher level. Whereas in Japan, life sort of lives horizontally. You can have a very balanced life, have a really good paycheck, you can have a really good family, good apartments, go on vacations, etc. But you're gonna still be living that average work life, right? You're gonna be middle class there, and the middle class is a lot more rich than it is in Macedonia, but it's still middle class. So it's just a difference. It's not necessarily something that's good or bad. It's just a preference, and I prefer to have life a lot more shaky. I guess. Yeah.
It's much more how do you say I don't know, motivating and I don't know. Yeah. And what about the scene, the music scene there? Because you're playing music.
Yes,
so, yeah.
The music scene in Japan is struggling. I won't hide that because I have a number of musicians there who are friends, and realistically, it's really hard to do music in Japan. I'm not sure. I've only lived there for a year, and I'm coming back for a second year, and I have some sort of gigs planned after I come back to Japan there. But so far as I've seen it, music goes a lot easier in Macedonia, not just because it's Macedonia, but because it's Europe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of international musicians that come there. This year, there were 90 famous people. Arctic Monkeys came and played, Dua Lipa played, Bruno Mars played. Everyone played in Tokyo, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to go on tour in Japan.
Yeah.
But having that said, there's really few people who actually perform from Japan, even J-pop or even Japanese rock
music. It's hard to find
music.
their place there.
Yes, there are a few very famous bands from the past, but currently there isn't anyone that's fully influential throughout the entire country. Whereas in Macedonia, I feel like there are a number of really good Macedonian bands that have had influence and probably still have a big influence on people, and if they came out with a really big song, everybody would listen to it, it would be played on the radio, whereas in Japan it wouldn't. I guess the difference in the music industry really goes to show that here, even though it is so spontaneous and sort of unplanned, you can still make a certain success out of it if you try hard enough.
Yeah.
If you keep going to shows, keep playing at cafes, there's always going to be some sort of opportunity there is here than there is there. And of course, the other thing, which is not speaking Japanese. I'm studying Japanese now, but as a foreigner, you know that going to a country where you don't speak the language is hard.
Yeah.
And in Japan, almost nobody speaks English.
Oh yeah.
Almost nobody speaks English. Even the best English speakers have that broken English accent, which is like half Japanese, half English, and eto, they have to think about it. But I guess that makes it really hard doing like planning things and business. Whereas here people actually know English a lot better, which I was surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised as well when I came here. Like I didn't speak English, and I was like, children from 7 years old speaking perfect English. I was just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's understandable that also it's harder to find a place in the music like area and everything. And what about you? Because so the music is one of your like main hobbies, I think so.
It's probably more of a profession at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like now it's
I've started playing music when I was 4 years old. So I stole my father's guitar, and instead of yelling at me, he taught me how to play guitar when I was 4. Then at 6 years old, I continued to play classical guitar, and then at 13 or something, I had my first rock band. By the time I was 15, I had over 120 concerts or something like that I've done throughout my life. Because then I also studied classical music in Lazar Nelkovski, which is the public music school in Macedonia. I studied classical piano, solfege, theory, etc.
Okay, so you play different.
Yes, I've also studied drums, bass, and a few other instruments, which I've hoarded along the years. To then result to me wanting to do one thing, which is composition. Realistically, I wanted to go into high school for directing, for musical directing, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a conductor, but that was very difficult in Macedonia. So I decided to go to a gymnasia. Yeah, which is like it's like a public school. But I went to Lazar Nelkovski, which is one of the I say it's the best.
Yeah.
Here, which gave me the opportunity to then do what I want. Since I've always been connected to composing and not to playing, I've always tried to push the fact that I'm probably not the best singer, probably not the best guitarist, bass player, drummer. The only thing that I can do is sit and waste hours on making it all sound good together, even if it's far out of what I can play. So that's the idea, that I'm not creating music for... I mean, that's what art is. Art isn't...
Yeah, you're like polyvalent, like you like to touch a bit of...
Art is creating, generally, yeah.
So yeah, so today, what is your plan? Like, so you told me like you want to compose most of the time, composing music, but you are still playing, for example, like United American, that kind of thing. So what are your projects actually like?
So I'm a rock musician, and I have 2 albums which are going to come out in the next year. One of them has a few songs out. The other one has its first song, which is She's in Love with a Rock Star. It just hit 1,000 views on YouTube. So yeah, it's pretty small. It hasn't been promoted anywhere, and I haven't played them at shows yet. I want to be... See, most of the bands in Macedonia focus on being the best in Macedonia. But I'm not trying to run the race of being the best in Macedonia. My rivals aren't the ones that live here. My rivals are the ones that lived 40 years ago, including Freddie Mercury, etc. So I'm trying to reach a higher level than what is here and what's prominent here. I generally, because just like you, we're all international people, and you know how it is. After some point, you stop being connected to one country and one culture, and you start being this sort of like
like
it's
harder to go outside the border after.
And maybe that's why it's easier meeting other people. I guess after I came back here, it's been a lot easier speaking to international people than speaking to Macedonians, because the mentality is a lot similar to when you've lived abroad.
Of course.
And then you sort of get to the thing that you're creating for the world. You're not creating for one certain culture, right? If you make a song in one language, that doesn't mean that it belongs to that country. I mean, K-pop is a thing. The entire world listens to K-pop.
Yeah.
At that point, even English is not Macedonia's language, but everybody still listens to English music, right? So that's what I want to do as my first profession, and I hope that it'll pick up fast after I move to the US. Because there's not much to do here about it.
Yeah. And so now you're playing as an individual or still in a group? Or?
Yes, they're all my songs. My name is Lazar Nelkovski, and the band, that's the performance. In my band I have some very talented musicians, and I will name them. I have the best vocalist, Anastasia Trajkovska. I have one of the greatest drummers in Macedonia, Dragan Andonovski. Messiah, who is American, who you've probably met at karaoke. He plays the guitar, and we have a really good talented bass player. She has been playing bass for 3 months, and she is already amazing. Her name is Yana Eftimova, and I hope you see her tonight if you come.
Okay, yeah, of course. Hope to. Nice. Also, I had a question, like about, for example, last time you collaborated with VCS as like volunteer to play music. Is it important for you to play music sometimes for like as a volunteer, you know, for like and no, but like for local events?
Oh yeah, definitely. The thing is, I've met a lot of musicians who say that music is a privilege, and what makes them professional is them holding back playing for people unless they get paid. I disagree with that. I don't think that you're a musician if you disagree to play with people unless they pay you. You're a musician if you're able to play with everyone, including the people who will play you. So 4 days ago, I was at Doiran, and it was 7 a.m. after all the concerts, and I met a bunch of alcoholics on the beach, and they had a guitar, and I went there, and we played Bolje biti pijan nego star, which means, in literal translation, I would rather be young than drunk. No, I would rather be drunk than old, yeah. And I believe that those are the moments that make me into a musician. It's that passion. Just like yesterday, I played the drums at a Daikaiju concert, which I was not even supposed to go to. Yeah. So I guess it's those small moments that keep you in mind. You can't live off of art. You can live for art. That's the thing that my father's taught me. And
sharing also. It's one of the most important value, I think, in music. And
yeah.
Nice. Also, I wanted to ask you about like your musical influences, because like you talked about Freddie Mercury, for example.
Yes. But so I've listened to all types of music, and I think I have been broadened to the point of listening to everything from classical music to heavy metal. So except for trap, I don't listen to trap that much. All the melodic things that I have analyzed have led me to a certain point of influences, but I don't see it as wanting to sound like anyone else. There are a lot of people who sound like other people. For example, the very famous band Greta Van Fleet, they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, and that's what people identify them with. I'm trying to sound like, I guess, myself, because realistically, all of the people that I'm trying to beat, they're not my idols, they're my competition at this point.
Yeah.
They lived 40 years ago, and 40 years ago rock music is different, because modern rock music in the 21st century is almost non-existent, meaning that there is a story to be written. Now the question is, who has the pen? And we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I guess I want to do everything in every single genre, because I do not want to be limited by one single thing. So I have everything from hard rock music to metal to experimental songs that are like that's spacey and sort of like distorted.
But for the same, like for me it was very surprising, because for example in France you cannot find like nightclub, I mean maybe in Paris, but in other cities you cannot find like club or like events with rock and roll music or like music from 80s, you know. And then I arrived here and it's basically just that, you know. And I'm just like, damn, like it's cool.
I know, people have some really good tastes here, which I'm also, because like 10 years ago they really didn't. 10 years ago people did not have good tastes, but I feel like this new generation of alternative people has come up, which has led to a certain influence of good tastes in film, music, books. And a lot of people are sort of going back to that retro culture, which is wanting old things, wanting old types of music. A lot of my friends have like cassettes, and they listen on cassettes on Walkmans. So
I like it's come back to the good song actually, because now I mean there is some nice song going, but most of it like is very different than before. Like
modern music, especially in the US, I mean we can agree as Europeans that in the US it has gone to a place where it's just too monetized, I guess. It's too commercial, right? It sounds like a marketing campaign, right? The thing with the people who play here is that even the most professional musicians in Macedonia don't live off of music. And I think that's a big thing. They all live off of something else, and they do music for pleasure. Even the biggest names. I mean, Smut, who is this very famous metal band, they don't live off of making their songs. I guess Sarah Mays also doesn't live off her famous music. They do other things and then come back to music regularly, right? I guess that's what pushes us to do things that will sound good and will sort of like have some sort of hold on the people.
And also, if you have to choose one of your favorite artists, who it will be?
Oof.
And why?
No, not this question.
No, or maybe like some artists with who you would like to make like collaboration for.
Oh, John Mayer, definitely.
Okay.
I'd like to play around with John Mayer because he's a really good guitarist. I guess some musicians from Macedonia. I'd really like to work with the guitarist from Prekuret, who's playing tonight, because I know that he's a really good guitarist. I might also like to work with some classical musicians, which I'm pretty sure aren't that well known for my friends. I guess all of the big people that I would like to meet are people that I would like to learn from more than actually get to know. I think one of the people who I'd like to meet is the bass player, if alive or dead, the bass player of Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
Because of his arrangements. I don't know if you know, but the bass player of Led Zeppelin is the one that actually created all of these sort of the bass player of Pink Floyd.
Okay.
He has made the entire Pink Floyd sort of genre, which sounds experimental, and he's produced most of their albums. So yeah.
Okay, nice. I didn't know. I mean, I have kind of very bad musical culture, so like
It's
you
alright.
teaching me a lot, and also it's very interesting for me actually. But nice, interesting. What are your like your next project? So your album is coming soon.
Well, I do a number of things. I'm
Yeah.
also a professional filmmaker, so I have made 2 long movies, one of which is a professional documentary that got streamed in Macedonia. We had its premiere here a year ago. And another where I acted as the main character in a film, and my friend's, he's a director. I also dabble with theater, as I study theater. I've been on 2 tours with a theater play around the Balkans, one with 5 or 6 plays, and then the other one we had 31 shows, like gigs, not really gigs, around Macedonia and the Balkans and Serbia and Bosnia, etc. My biggest project right now is probably my music. That's what I'm pushing. But other than that, I'm also the CEO and active manager of the festival New Spaces. It's a yearly festival. We do it every year. It's financed by Grad Skopje. So the city of Skopje has financed us before. And the idea is that it's totally free. So we take almost zero of the money. Why? I feel like that it's deserving to give back to the community. Last year, we saved up our entire last bucks. Mm-hmm. And we bought the entirety of the security guards, crew, volunteers, everyone who did something on the festival, food and 200 dinars to buy something so we can eat. And then we also bought a guitar, which we then did a lottery. And this, I really want to tell you this because it's really fun. We did a lottery. We printed out like 2,000 numbers or something, 2,500 numbers. And we said the only thing that you need to do for the lottery is come grab a number. You don't have to sign a name. You don't have to confirm anything. Just grab a number. And a bunch of people came and grabbed numbers. And we pulled one of those numbers out. And a kid got it. Okay. And to that kid, we gave a free guitar. So we gave an entire guitar with... it's like a hybrid guitar, so he can play plugged in and plugged out. We also gave him a guitar case, a strap, and everything he needs. And after that, I learned that the kid had been learning guitar but didn't have the money to buy one, so he was playing on borrowed guitar, and then he stopped playing for a few months. Mm-hmm. So we got him up on stage in front of 1,000 or something people. They all started chanting his name, saying Ogni, Ogi, which is like Ognan, his name. Yeah. And I think that coming from a very humble family and from a very humble place in the world, I want to give back, especially to this country, because I've lived here and I absolutely love the city of Skopje.
Yeah, of course, it's like very warming and when you're living this kind of moment, you just like understand how it's solidarity and also sharing this kind of moment. You just want to come back. Even me, I lived here for 1 year already. I'm living in 1 month. I don't want to leave. I want to go back to France 1 month and then come back here because the social life and everything it's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, nice. So you're doing a lot of things, you're multifunction, and you're 17 years old.
Yes, I've
Come on, this is
I've been active in all of these professions the entirety of my life, and it is what it is. That's what it is. I guess people in this country, firstly, I do arts. The discussions I've had to have with my parents about letting me do arts, right? I moved away to pursue arts very far, but still there was tension in letting me go and do that, right? This is, to a certain extent, a conservative country, and people do choose to do what they have to before they choose what they want to do. I guess the step ahead that I had is that I knew what I wanted to do ever since I've been a little kid, and I just followed my childhood dreams. It's as simple as that. I started doing things professionally when I was 12. That's when I went on my first tour with a play. Then I continued, and after that, it's just been a roller coaster, I guess. And I don't think that it's full of luck at all, because every single person you meet is a person. I accidentally met the manager of Madonna, the former manager of Madonna, at a music conference in Skopje. And he told me that most of the people you meet are ordinary. They are normal. They're just normal people who do normal things. So no matter how big a person might be, no matter how much people he might be in front of, no matter how strong his name is, or how much power he has, he's still a human being, right? So why would you have any sort of hard times meeting people? Ever since I understood that, I started to meet everyone in my generation. I don't know, I would see someone who I know is important on the street, and I would go up to him and say, yo, I know you're really cool, I really want to meet you because I know that you do all these things and I do something similar. And it all started from there. Then I got entered into a bunch of organizations and to a bunch of volunteering centers too.
It's network and
Yes, I worked a few jobs. I went everywhere, and suddenly I came to Japan, and now I'm back. And it's ever since I've been back, I haven't had a free day. It's been so busy.
And you still haven't slept.
No, I haven't, but it's alright. It's worth it.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's very nice, but it's also for me, paradoxal a bit, because for example in Macedonia, most of students or young people that I met, they're okay, we have to work because you're working as well, but you're more doing what you
work to survive.
Yeah, they're working to survive, and so is it not too hard to combine work, music, and all your projects? How you're doing?
That's the thing. There's a certain mentality. You're not going to do both. You're either going to do one thing or another. You're lying to yourself if you're saying that you're doing a thing that you need to do to then do a thing that you want, or that you're doing a thing that you want to do, so then do a thing that you need. I've mentioned, I hope that you don't dabble in programming, but I've said this a million times. If you're in the top 50 people of your profession, you're going to be a lot more paid than being an average programmer or an average doctor or an average lawyer. If you're at the top of your profession, or at the best at what you do, there is no competition. There is no question of whether you're surviving or not. You're going to be a millionaire if you're one of the top 15 musicians, for example, for me. That's my reach in life. If you are, you're okay. You could be something very niche. You could be, for example, a translator for a medical firm. If you're one of the top 50 in your profession, no one's changing you. Why? Because if you become irreplaceable, who are they going to replace you with? It's as simple as that, I guess. I think that's very important for me, and I like to tell to people, is that you will be okay with whatever you do and wherever you go, as long as you stick to the thing that you want to do. Why? Let's say I do music and I also have to do business, economics, for example. I'm gonna have to study 2 hours a day economics, and I'm gonna lose my mind because it's so hard, I don't like it, it's annoying. Then I'm gonna sit down on an instrument or do anything, and I'm suddenly gonna catch myself playing music for 8 hours. I don't feel tired at all. It's just how it is. Why? Because I really want to do it. The things that you would want to do are probably the ones that are easiest for you to achieve in. And this isn't connected to talent. If you want to do it, you're going to spend so much more time than talented people who have a hard time doing their talent. And I have a famous violinist, and he's struggling every day, and you have another violinist that's mediocre but is absolutely relaxing. he is probably going to be more successful.
Yeah.
That's my mentality. Even if you play the same song every single day for 1,000 days, you're still getting better every time you play, right?
Yeah.
So it's another thing that I always say is we are under the influence of an older generation. Our parents' generation do always tell us go where the money is. And while we do listen to those types of things as they're older than us, we tend to forget that they've had a hard life that has influenced them in their mind state. The sad thing is that they are more capitalist in their mindset than us, yet they were born in a socialist environment. So it's kind of ironic. Because of that shift from socialism to capitalism, they're hard capitalists in this country. They've all been sort of like destructed by society, and they've been sort of told what to do and stressed out, and now that's why they're telling the young generations to do what they have to, right? So it's still nobody's fault, but I think the younger generation should open its eyes to the fact that sometimes older people don't know what's best.
Yeah, thank you. It was big answer, like.
Sorry for ranting.
No, it's okay. It's very nice, actually. Like, I need that. I need content. So yeah. Okay, my last question, but we're gonna come back again in the same things because you already answered kind of. I wanted to know like if you have some advices for people who would like start a music career and blah blah blah. But you already said like a lot about like, for example, what you want. But
direct advice is pick up an instrument and start playing. Honestly, don't be afraid of composing. Don't be afraid of messing up. There's a famous joke. 60 years ago, you had to know how to sing, how to compose, how to do everything. 50 years ago, or 40, you don't even have to know how to compose or anything. You just have to know how to sing and someone will record it for you. Now, you don't even have to sing. Auto-tune exists. You only have to know how to speak properly. If you don't know how to speak properly, mumble rap exists for you. If you don't know how to speak at all, you can be a DJ, right? Okay. So you can play your own music, DJ. And this is the last step. If you are so uncreative that you don't know how to do anything at all, you don't know even how to DJ your own songs, you can always just start playing other people's songs and get famous through that. So literally there's zero effort in music. You'll always find a way. But if you want to become one of the greatest musicians and you want to actually have an influence on the world, just start getting out of your comfort box and start composing is what I would say. Because you can always play for other bands. You can always play for other people. How much of that is going to be your own? An actor in a film is great because the role is his. But the credit and the recognition for the film goes to the director because it's his story, right? Are you helping to tell someone else's story or are you going to tell your own? So encouragement is tell your own story.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Yes.
But it was very interesting. I learned a lot of things about music in Japan.
Voices to hear.